All right, have and have not fans. This is probably one of the most requested videos since last week's episode. And again, funny part is it has to do with something not even in the episode, but in the episode preview for the mid-season finale. And it is, whose car is this? Whose car is being flipped? Who's going to be the victim? Is this going to lead to another possible death? And the reason I say possible is because we've seen plenty of car wrecks in the series as a whole, most of which being Benny. And he came out of most of, if not all of those accidents relatively fine. First being the one where he rams the car that he got from Erica, which again was bought by Candace, and gave it to Hannah. But then after finding out what Quincy did to her, when he came by the house with Quincy Jr. and then slapped Hannah to the ground, he wrecked his car into Quincy's ride at the strip club, and then came out, drug Quincy from the car, or his car, and beat him into the ground. Then of course you have when he had the white truck from his tow yard, where he rigged it so the passenger side seat belt wasn't working. So when he bailed Quincy out of jail after the first accident, he planned on wrecking the truck, beating his ass, planting drugs on him, then leaving the scene. He came out of that really unharmed because his seat belt was working. And that's just a couple of the mini car related car accidents in the series. So we don't know if the person whose ride is flipping in the picture is going to die, but let's just for the sake of simplicity, let's say the victim is either going to be killed or attempt to be killed. So, and again, attempted relating to one of the characters I want to discuss today. Now, one of the things is, to my knowledge, this vehicle is completely unknown. I don't believe we've ever seen this sort of vehicle before in the series. And again, you can feel free to let me know in the comments if I am wrong. But to my knowledge of the vehicle seen by various characters, main and secondary alike, I don't think we've seen this car before. Now, if I were to put my money where my mouth is, there is one character above everybody else who I think might be in this ride. However, I think this individual should be saved for last. So let's just kind of talk about possible victims in this crash. Who would Tyler be looking to kill off next? There are several questions you have to ask yourself. Whose storyline has pretty much come to an end? And that is a debate. That's pretty much an oxymoron, because sometimes you'll realize that characters whose storylines don't seem like they have ended still get killed off anyway. But again, for simplicity's sake, look at each character as a whole. Who do you think is pretty much their time has come? Like, they really have nothing else to either live for, or what purpose are they bringing to the overall plot? Most can say the same about Wyatt, but he's still alive. So, let's kind of talk about suspects. Now, it's somebody who's going to be a victim or somebody who's at the end of their rope. Now, looking at Justin, he would be one of the suspects here, but I'd say more in line of his wife. Now, when you look at it this way, it looks like Veronica is going to drop the ball in the next episode. It looks like she even said in the episode over the phone to Jeffrey and Justin that, hey, if you don't show up to, my house, then I'm going to tell your little friend's wife about, the whole situation. Pretty much the video of her busting into Jeffrey's room, seeing, Justin there, no clothes on, has his badge number and everything. So we know Veronica will do it. As Jeffrey said, she'll do it, just like, oh, she's not going to do it. But Jeffrey's been through enough already, from being, in the situation where he got a girl pregnant that Veronica set up, to having Quincy let loose on him by his mom. He knows and having the house burned down with his dad inside of it, he knows very well that Veronica is not bluffing. She will do it. So looking at that, some might speculate that his wife might be taken out of the picture by maybe Justin himself, because if Justin's wife finds out the truth, that's game over. And he might be willing to let her go in order to have Jeffrey all to himself. But honestly, instead of and again, this is one character who hasn't shown up in a while, Pearl. I feel like kind of like how Jeffrey is afraid of Veronica, or was afraid of Veronica. I feel like Justin's the same way with his mom, in terms of not wanting her to know about him being in a closet. So I don't think it's Pearl that's in the car, just to let you know, because the fact she's been absent so long, just have her killed off right away, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. So could it be his wife? It's a possibility because we've never seen her vehicle before. We've only seen her in one episode. That was the episode at the Sarandon Hotel bar where Jeffrey's sitting down there, and it was right at, if I'm not mistaken, it was after the murder of Quincy Maxwell, when, you know, he thought he killed him and he was trying to get, you know, over that. And then I believe that Justin's wife, as well as two of her friends, were drinking as well. One of them tried to come on to Jeffrey. Well, he wasn't having it. And that's when we learned that that was Justin's wife, the one who was going to be running the case of Veronica. Now, I don't think that was her. Oh, excuse me for yawning. It's almost midnight, and this is my fourth video, back to back to back. But I don't think Justin's wife would be killed off because, again, just being introduced, I don't think so. I think it's safe to say that the car wreck is going to be the ending or the mid-season finale scene, you know, ending scene, and will pick up in January. So that leads to my next possible victim here, Veronica herself. I mean, because remember, David said he has a plan for her, but he also told Jeffrey that he's not going to harm her. So Veronica, I don't, you know, I'm pretty much going off of possible suspects, I believe, but also what a lot of people have been thinking of. But that does not look like Veronica's ride. It looks a bit too raggedy, in my opinion, based off, you know, what we've seen of the car. It doesn't look like it's in good condition. And we've seen Veronica's ride several times, and that doesn't look like a vehicle she would own. Next up, Hannah, because some people are saying, you know, hey, man, maybe because Candace hates Hannah, she did something to her ride. Remember that remember that Catherine gave I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. Catherine gave Hannah Amanda's old vehicle, because remember, she signed over the title to Hannah saying, look, Hannah, I'm not going to debate about it. I've already signed it over in your name. Here it is. And because it's just sitting in the garage collecting dust and you need a vehicle. If I'm not mistaken, that's not the same car. And that was another thing I was wondering about, because we seen Amanda's vehicle when she moved out with Candace, you know, when she moved into Candace's apartment. It was the episode where she's, you know, when she was still psycho tripping and going after Professor Cannon. It was when Quincy was waiting outside of the apartment and saw Amanda go in there and say, like, hey, have you seen this girl? And that was referring to Candace. And then she was getting groceries out of the back. That vehicle does not look like the one Hannah, that doesn't look like the ride in the picture above. Not to mention, I thought she had the sports car. Remember that Candace's initial blackmail attempt on Jim was for $100,000, as well as a red sports car, pretty much the same version of a vehicle that Amanda had. So I was wondering about that. Maybe because she left the house, she wasn't allowed to take it. I don't know, but let's just put it this way. I don't think it's Hannah, because the fact that vehicle does not look like the same one Amanda was driving. I'll go back and look at the pictures again. Maybe I'll change my tune in the comments of the video itself, but to my knowledge, I don't think that's the same ride that Amanda had. So what, that was Justin's wife, Veronica, Hannah. Whew. Wow, I'm trying to think here. Also, I don't think it's the vehicle. I don't think it was the car that Quincy had, the one he had parked in front of Pearl's house when he went in the house to attack Candace. Because if you remember, that car blew out when Jeffrey was leaving. That's right, because he couldn't crank the car because number one, he had been drinking a lot, and then Justin was asking Candace what was wrong, and she was like, oh, well, he just came out to his parents. He's still trying to go over that or get over that. And that's when Jeffrey got pulled over by Justin and then got verbally abused in the car. And if I'm not mistaken, Justin checked out the car before he arrested Jeffrey for DUI, saying that, hey, this car is like this. I forgot what part of the car he said was blown out, but I don't think that's vehicle is Jeffrey or whatever. So I don't think that's him either. Looking over the list, I want to be honest. I just want to get to the main event. I just want to get to the main event. The person who if I were to put money on it right now, and again, maybe I'll change my tune when I could be completely wrong. That includes all my other previous suspects. Maybe it's Quita. I don't know. We haven't seen her in a while. I don't think it's Oscar. Just because we haven't seen him doesn't mean he'd be driving something like that. But if I were to bet money, Melissa would be the person I would think is in that car. The reason I say that is because in the preview, it looks like she's sitting alone in a room with some lunch on a tray. It looks like I believe it's the bedroom. You know, maybe she had finished cleaning up the blood or whatever from the sheets and just sitting there. She looks completely lifeless, like she's too through with life. And then the way Veronica's just looking down at her, oh my God. Melissa just looks like death is upon her. She has no reason to I know she's suicidal, but honestly, she has no reason to live. The only reason she's gone through everything she's going through was for her dad to be saved. Yeah, you know, her mom made her do it in terms of, you know, saving their business and whatnot. But at the same time, she did all that for her dad, and her dad's dead. And she's just like done with life right now. And she's told Jeffrey time and time again, tell me what's the point of living. And then we've seen in a couple episodes of her mom that she's still just treated like an item. So just given that alone, she could be dropped and attempted to, you know, kill herself by, you know, wrecking the car. And even Veronica said, hey, if you try anything like that again in regards to slitting her wrist, she'll put her in like a comatose state to the point where she wouldn't be mobile or anything, but she'll be well aware of everything that's going on around her and suffer. What I'm thinking is the reason I feel like it's probably Melissa above anybody else is for a couple of reasons. Number one being, again, she really doesn't feel like, and honestly, I'm not saying she should be killed off, but to an extent she is correct that she really doesn't have anything to live for because her dad was her only reason for doing what she did. And number two, I think the vehicle, and again, it goes back to the fact that, to my knowledge, this vehicle has never been seen before. And really the person in that vehicle who's going to be in the wreck will be somebody who has a vehicle we haven't seen in the series. We've never seen Melissa's vehicle. We've heard about it in passing. Remember in, I believe it was the last season finale where, you know, her and Jeffrey were talking. It was when Veronica was talking to Justin outside in the front yard. Jeffrey was looking out the window. And, oh yeah, that's right. Because he wasn't sleeping in the same bed as Melissa. So he was just sleeping on or sitting on a chair in the room. Melissa was trying to offer an olive branch here saying that, hey, I know what time your mom goes to sleep. If you want, you could take my car and go see him, referring to Justin. If you remember correctly, she said that my car is parked around the corner because your mom says it's too raggedy to be parked out in front of her house. So that car itself looks a bit raggedy in the picture. So it could be Melissa, you know, when Veronica goes to court and whatnot, Melissa just has had enough, decides to drive and kill herself. So that's why I feel it's most likely her in that car. I mean, again, I could be completely off the mark here. One of my previous victims that I speculated about and then said, nah, it probably isn't them. They could be the one in the car. But honestly, I'm putting my money down for Melissa. And the fact that she's still starring in, I believe it's season 2 coming out of Dear White People. Very great show. And again, I recommend it on Netflix if you haven't watched it already. She's one of the main characters, Coco, I believe is her name, where she's acting really like a Veronica character in some aspects. So with that being said, those are my thoughts, opinions, and possible victims in the car wreck in the mid-season finale. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think it's one of my potential victims I mentioned before, Justin's wife? But her being a judge, I don't think she'll be driving something that quote-unquote raggedy herself. Is it Hannah? Is it Veronica? Is it Melissa? So again, or is it somebody that I didn't even mention? So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please, please, please subscribe. And again, I can't wait to talk to you all on Tuesday.